好，各位老师、各位同学，大家好。那今天很高兴哈，因为举办这个讲座也得到非常多的帮助。那这一次毕业设计大概在戚老师的策划下，那也开始用这个所谓英文的评图。那其实，在上学期去年就已经操作过。那今年我们特别请那个系友，我们杰出的系友许胜杰先生，那他做一些捐助。他平常就每一年会捐给系上大概有8场的演讲。那包括特别跟他讲，我们这一次有个英文的评图。那他也希望说，是不是可以扩大来办？所以就今天有一个讲座这样的一个方式。特别邀请2位，还有我们本来在系上客座的Roe老师一起，留下来，是不是我们来办一个这个有关这个国际有关建筑设计的一个这个座谈研讨？那这个在2年前戚老师也办过一次，邀请了4位曾经在 AR 杂志得到第1名的年轻建筑师，所以我想这个大概也是后续变成一个惯常的一个讲座。那我想今天我就做了一个起头，那接着整个座谈跟研讨就请那个戚老师来主持，那我们欢迎大家。
里面同学后面尽量能挤就尽量挤一下。然后我想今天的演讲会非常有趣。然后我们请到2位，第一位是Philippe Rahm， 然后第2位是增田信吾 Shingo Masuda。然后他们的演讲，我相信我不用先多说，然后我希望他们一讲完以后，大家马上就会理解说为什么这2位演讲者被放在一起。那今天的行程应该是Philippe 先演讲，然后 Shingo 接着演讲，然后我们会有一个 discussion，open floor 的 discussion 这样子大概是这样。然后我们请Steve Roe，Professor Steve Roe will do the introduction and the moderator for the discussion。然后，所以中间我会如果我觉得有需要翻译的部分，我会突然出现，然后跟大家做一些说明，这样子。好，那 Steve。
Okay, as Chi probably explained, I'm going to introduce Philippe and Chi will introduce Shingo. Philippe Rahm is a very important young architect, and I think my first encounter with Philippe was at the AA when we taught there many years ago now. And since then, Philippe has gone on to teach at Princeton and Harvard, and he's a tenured professor at the University of Versailles in Paris as well. And also has exhibited internationally, a kind of amazing list of exhibitions worldwide, including more than once, I think, at the Venice Biennale. Yeah, some very important exhibitions at the Copenhagen Climate Conference and so on. And Philippe's work is very important and very interesting to a wide range of people because he touches on the issues that everybody is thinking about, but in a unique way that is both unique in the issues it addresses, but also in the way it expands the field of architecture. And I think after the last few days looking at theses and projects, I think for you guys to see Philippe's work and how research and conceptual thinking can feed into architecture and expand architecture beyond its previous boundaries is a really inspiring insight for you guys. So I'm very pleased to welcome Philippe here today.
刚才Steve Roe 老师大概介绍了一下今天我们第1位讲者Philippe Rahm 老师。他之前他们2个之前是在 AA 一起教书，然后后来 Philippe 他在 美国的 Princeton 大学跟哈佛大学，现在哈佛大学的客座教授。那么每一年的 Fall Semester 他会在那边有个 optional 的 studio。那么同时他也是法国的大学的专任的老师。那么他在全世界有各式各样的很多的演讲跟展览。然后台中生态公园目前也是他正在进行的 project。那所以这是第一位演讲者。那第二位演讲者增田信吾 ，Shingo Masuda， 他跟大平克环 Osbo 两个人是在东京是一个非常年轻的事务所，他们才33岁，超年轻。但是他们的那个得奖已经非常多。那包含2014年的 Architecture Review AR+D 的首奖，然后也是2014年12月英国的 Architecture Review 的封面。那么2015年的2月，他们是那个日本住宅特辑，就是新建筑杂志社住宅特辑的封面。然后也被 Wallpaper 很多非常多国际上的杂志出版过，所以是一个非常有趣的建筑师。那么他的有趣，我觉得不是在于他得了多少奖这个问题，他的有趣是在于说他们的作品其实都传递了非常清楚的讯息，有关于什么是建筑对于他们来讲。那我想等到这些诠释，我想等到他们演讲完以后，我们再做进一步的讨论。那我就先不多说。
Okay, so thank you, Professor Shi, for the invitation, and thank you for the school. I was very interesting yesterday to see all the project, and I think there is some common interest. I think about what architecture, where the architecture is going now, and I would like to do a presentation of my work by moving through a book we made a few months ago with 3 chapters, and I will just show one project in each chapter to explain a little my design strategy, and at the end I will present maybe the most recent development of the Taichung Jade Eco Park, currently under construction in Taichung. Maybe first the title of the book was Constructed Atmosphere. I don't know the right translation in Chinese, but there is this idea that architecture is about space, and space is about atmosphere, because what it is a space? A space is an empty room. It's something empty where people could go inside, and I think the void itself, where you go inside, the space itself, is a real material. It's not empty. It's something. It's composed by light, by air, by humidity, and all these components have different qualities. So it could be warm or cold, or it could be light or dark, or it could be humid or dry. So there is some components that are defining the space itself. And as an architect, I think this is our principal, our most important target. It is to design the void. It's to design the space. It's why we are not sculpture. We are not doing sculpture of the solid. We are not doing painting to choose the color of the wall, but we are designing the void itself, the space itself. So I think this is a fundamental target of architecture. And if you think what it is, light, heat, humidity. It's all about climate, about meteorological element, about weather. So I think as an architect you have to design the weather, you have to design the climate, and you have to build it. You have to, and because when it's raining outside, it's dry inside. When it's too warm, it's more cold inside. When it's too, like today, you know, it's raining, very bright and warm, and here it's completely the opposite. Here in this room, it's dark, no rain, and cold. So this is exactly building climate, building atmosphere. This is the reason, the target of architecture. And
OK， let me。Philippe 刚才讲到说，他说他今天的演讲跟之前的演讲有一点不一样，是今天的演讲他会利用他最近出版的一本书，里面分成了3个章节来做介绍，每一个主题他会介绍一个 project， 然后最后用那个台中生态公园的 project 来做总结。那么然后呢，他的书的标题是 Constructed Atmospheres， 那个建构那个大气或者那建构那这个事情其实是他说建筑作为一个那个气候的设计，这个事情其实很重要的一个事情是说，他说我们现在在21世纪这个时代，其实我们知道这个，与其设计，它不是在设计一个雕塑，它也不是在设计一个那个颜色绘画，像油漆涂颜色一样，这些都不是它建筑的重点。它建筑的重点是设计空间。那用什么东西来设计空间呢？是用设计光、水汽、温度等等这些东西来设计空间。
So and because we are talking about climate and atmosphere, of course it's linked with the main problem today it's about global warming, about energy saving, all these sustainable and ecological point of view that are linked to climate. So I think there is a really important link between the design of the climate and the world problem today, the world concern about sustainability, climate change and energy saving. Now I would like to go in these 3 chapters. So the first chapter is called Invisible Space. So it's like a research about the element of architecture that I made very often in some exhibition, in some museum, or for or also like a theoretical work that explore the different elements that qualify the void and the space. And so it's like the new brick of architecture. We could say before, or of course, there is a brick, the steel, the concrete, a different type of material, but we could also say there is also the heat, the light, the humidity that are also material for designing the space. So, so here the first chapter is about that. It's about an exploration about this different material to design the space with heat, light, and vapor, for example. The second chapter is about meteorological architecture. So it's more about project of architecture with the scale is becoming bigger, and here we need to start to, if in the first chapter is about element of architecture like brick, like light, heat, vapor, in the second chapter is about composition, how you use this element to compose something, to compose a building. And in the traditional architecture you use geometry, like you do an addition of room, or you do a multiplication of column, or you do an inclusion of one room inside another one. So there is some design composition strategy based on geometry, and it could be like symmetry, a symmetrical composition or an asymmetrical composition. And this is like the traditional way to compose building, to compose architecture. And here we propose to to add a new way of composing architecture by using some meteorological phenomena, weather phenomena, like conduction, convection, evaporation, radiation, effusivity, or like all this type of chemical, physical, where that the evaporation is all the vapor move or all the vapor change of physical change. So we think that this type of things could become a new way of composing space. And the last chapter is about thermodynamic city. It's more at the large scale, how to design a city, how to design the landscape, and to say that we have to integrate the energy, we have to integrate the weather, the climate inside the design of the city, and not to think that only the air conditioning will be the problem for everything.
那个刚才讲到这个有关于这本书的3个章节，它其实尺度是由小变大的。最小的尺度是那个好像砖一样看不见的那个砖 material， 所以它用光啊、温度啊、热啊这些东西来当做建筑构成的元素，这是第一个。然后第二个事情是说，我们有了这些基本的建筑构成元素以后，如何利用它来组成建筑呢？所以第二个是到了建筑的尺度。那第3个事情是，那我们如何透过这些事情来建构一个城市呢？那是指在一个 urban 的尺度上面，所以大概是从这些这样子的角度来出发。所以比如说一开始，比如说是光、热、空气、风、湿度等等这些东西，那变成到第2个尺度的时候，它就会变成传导、热传导、辐射等等这些蒸发这些事情。所以一个越来越复杂，里面包含的元素越来越多，从纯粹到复杂。
So here, this is in the first chapter. This is some project we've made at different scales. So, for example, this is a machine to renew the air with, like it's a ventilation, but with heat recuperation with double flow. So this is a technique in order that for example, if you use it in Taiwan, the warm air come inside, and then it's cooled by air conditioning, and then it go out. But before going out, there is some plate of aluminium that where you could recuperate, you could save the heat, the coolness before the air go out. So this is this type of ventilation with double flow with heat recuperation. And so in this project, because normally today it's something that we, in the sustainable building, we start to use this type of things, but it's in this project we say maybe it becomes the new fireplace of the room. It's become a new object of design. So this is something that could change the interior design of the space. So I will not explain everything, but also there is a type of food and some different things linked to humidity, linked also to a kind of French smell or things like this. And so this is another project based on light. We start to analyze the type of wavelengths of the light, and to understand what is the relation if you have a blue light or a red light or a yellow light, what is the influence on the body. And so we from 20 years there is a very big knowledge about that, about the relation between the physiological body, the eye and the light, and I will show this after also for one project. So this is a study about this element of like the air, like the humidity, like the light, to start to analyze them quite precisely in order to work with them in a very precise way that could develop a new imagination for everybody, for the architect, and also some new way of designing.
所以刚才第1章他很快的举了简单的例子，比如说第一个是有关于空气的 circulation， 然后第2个是有关于光， 那么空气的 circulation 里面，它甚至于用了比较以前的 technique， 所以似乎是创造了一个新的fireplace， 就是像新的房子里面的壁炉，可是它其实是有关于空气交换的这件事情。好，那像第二个的话，它是在看这些光跟感知的影响。
Now I would like to present more precisely one project we just made for a light company in Italy called Artemide. Maybe you know this, it's quite famous, it's like 40 years old with a lot of designers that made a lot of light for them. And they came to us and they asked to design one new product, a new lamp for them. And because everything today is based on LED lighting. It's no more incandescent lighting, it's no more fluorescent lighting, it's LED. And we start to analyze what is the quality of LED, what it is about LED lighting, and what are the reasons behind the LED, and what are the fundamental idea of LED. So the first point of view is energy saving, because if you look here, for example, you see that the incandescent lighting, the old lighting was with the tungsten metallic things inside a bubble, was producing in reality a lot of heat. It's like if you pay $1,000 NT for the light, you will get only if it is okay, $100 Taiwanese dollar for the light, you will get only $7 of light, and $93 will be only on heat that you doesn't need this. You lose $93 with heat because it produced no light, and it's because if you analyze the light, it produces a lot of infrared. It's the same for the halogen. You could see the halogen lighting, for example, produce a lot of infrared, and nobody needs infrared. So it means in this room, for example, if you have some incandescent or halogen lighting, you warm the room. So you look, and then after you have to use the air conditioning to cool. So it's completely crazy, you know. And it's why today, because of the energy saving, we stopped to use. Halogen or incandescent. Fluorescent was better, but today the most efficient, the most stronger is the LED technique. And so this is the first reason. And here we could see the spectrum of the light. This is the wavelengths of the light. So we have here the ultraviolet here, and then the visible part, and then all the infrared part. So we don't see the infrared, is only heat radiation.
那个刚才在讲说他们这个是他其中要讲的一个例子，是在那个 Elements， 就是第一个章节的例子。他们帮那个意大利的那个灯光的公司设计一个灯哦，那个 Artemide 这家公司台北也有哈。那么他说他在比较这些灯的时候，我们其实每个人都知道这个是那种一般的那种灯泡啊，那些事情是卤素灯啊，那些都是非常浪费电，非常产生很多热能的东西。那 LED 这个 LED 灯很省能，这我们通通都知道。但是其实会发生这件事情的原因，是因为这里面有产生了非常多的光是在红外线的部分，所以那个是我们其实用不到的。那在这里面，它是这两种灯是聚焦在我们可见光的范围，所有的能量都拿来用在可见光的范围里面，所以是比相对来省能源的。所以这边每100块，你大概93块的钱都拿去做看不见的热能啊那些事情去了。那这边就相对来讲是节省。OK。
So and why the LED is better for energy saving is because it's because of the composition of the LED. LED light is based on semiconductor material, and each there is like I could show this here. Yeah. Each semiconductor, today, you know, we know like I don't know, like 15 different semiconductors. This is all the semiconductor, and each semiconductor produce, depending of what type of semiconductor, it could be gallium, artemide, phosphide, or gallium, different type of semiconductor. Each of them produce one peak, one wavelength, but in the single wavelength. So it means you will never use one LED that produces infrared. So it will be always in the visible range. So you could be very efficient with in the choice of the LED. And to create some different color, because the first LED was the red and the green, and then recently, like 10 years ago, it was a Nobel Prize that discovered how to do the blue LED light, and then today, since some years, we could have a white light by adding all these three semiconductors together to create the white light by adding RGB, you know, like on the screen. So this is the way that the technique of the LED is an addition of semiconductor in order to create a spectrum. So it means that when you are doing light with LED, you are a little doing like Claude Monet Impressionist painting. I don't know if you know, with this dot, you know, like a neo-impressionism, you do dots, you know, and all together it creates something, but it's like pointillism, impressionism, like Renoir and Claude Monet, and this is this addition of color that create the color you want. So it means that by doing a light of LED, you are a little like a perfumer. You have to choose different smell and to compose a light with a certain spectrum.
所以，因为LED 的技术基本上是用半导体，然后每一种半导体会产生一个很聚焦的，在那个光谱上面非常聚焦的一条线。那么，所以他举的例子蛮有趣的。他说那个以前 LED 并没有所有的颜色，那后来随着半导体的发展，甚至于得诺贝尔奖的研究，蓝色的 LED 被研究出来以后，那基本上这个 LED 它可以组合颜色的方法，就有点像是以前雷诺瓦在画那个点画的那种方式去把它组合起来。那么，所以现在在设计 LED 的灯光的时候，有点像是在香水师在调香水一样，把那些所有不同的 elements 组构起来，然后变成一种新的光的组构的方式。
So after, if you want to be economic, if you want to create a light, you need to compose the spectrum of the light to choose which wavelengths you will use to create the light. And so we start to think, okay, what wavelengths we really need, because each of peak, if I show that, for each, it's like it's like $1 Taiwanese dollar for each peak. So if you emit a lot of peak, you will pay a lot and you will have a lot of expense of energy. But if you choose the good one, the most efficient one, so you could reduce the cost of each, because you will emit only a few peak of light in relation with what we really need. So you will do some loss of energy in non-use wavelengths. So for doing that, we start to analyze, so as human, what we need, what are the wavelengths we need. And in reality, inside the eye, we have three cones that perceive the light in three wavelengths. So it's like at 420 nanometer, 535 nanometer, and 564 nanometers. This is a three cone we have inside the eye that gives to us information of color. And all together, it creates some different color by mixing the different perception. But in reality, in the eye, we have only this. So it means that if we want to emit a good light, an efficient light, we have to emit in this wavelength because it will be the one that the eye will perceive. And so if we want to be economic, if we could only emit light only in this peak of wavelengths that will correspond to the human vision.
所以如果要把那个经济价值极大化的时候，我们只要用少数的几个波长的光线，那个几个波长的光线是研究我们眼球的构造里面，我们眼球会对哪一些波长有感应。那所以这样子是一个最有效率的方法。
Okay, and then there is some other wavelengths, for example, for the melatonin, and and then we say, okay, for human we need these 4 wavelengths. So this is what we need. So we will pay only $4 for doing the light, and not $40. You know, we just use the minimum according to the intensity of the sunlight, of the natural sunlight, because it will be, we receive more blue of the sunlight than red, according to the natural white light that is perceived. So we reproduce the intensity of each wavelength. So this is the light for the human. And then we say that in one house, we are not alone. Maybe there is also a dog, there is also a plant, there is also a bird, or there is also a mouse, you know, and we say, okay, what are the good light for the different animals? And so we start to analyze for a mouse. And in reality, a mouse, he see only in one color. You know, he see a very strange world, because it's a green world. The world of the mouse is green. You know, so he see only at 505 nanometers. This is the only color that the mouse see. So you see like when there is a lot of green or less green, but this is the only color. And then, so we add also one light, one peak of wavelengths for the mouse. And then we say, okay, the dog. The dog, you see only 2 colors, you know, in this blue and green wavelength. So it's why we say often that the dog see in black and white, but in reality you don't see in black and white, you see in the blue and green. So, and this is the 2 peak perceived by the dog, and we add this also in our lamp. And then the bird see more than us, because he see also some ultraviolet, and so different wavelengths. So we add also the bird wavelengths, and then there is a plant, and the plant for the photosynthesis, you know, the plant is green, the leaf of the plant is green because it reflects the green light, but all the red light and the blue light is absorbed for doing the photosynthesis to transform the carbon of the air into carbon inside the plant. And so this is the wavelength of the peak absorbed by the chlorophyll. And this is there is a chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. And so we also add this color inside the product. And then this is the intensity. This is the natural light intensity for each color. And then we choose different intensity. And finally, we have all these wavelengths. And all these wavelengths is, we find that there is one semiconductor LED that corresponds to each wavelength. So we start to do a composition of different semiconductors to create the lamp. And so at the end we have 32 different wavelengths, so we will pay $32 and not, you know, we don't use wavelengths that nobody see. We only use a wavelength that is useful for people, and for the dog, and for the mouse, and for the plant, and for the bird. And then everything goes together, and we create, finally, we say, okay, all these wavelengths together create white, because they are like mixing together. And so this is the design of the lamp. So each rod is one wavelength, and they converge, you know, focus on one plate that mixed all the light, and then it recomposes a kind of economical and biological white light. And then we say, okay, maybe you could turn on, if you are alone in the house, you turn on the human light, and if you have a dog, you turn on also the dog light, and if you go out with your dog, you keep only the plant light on. And,
所以那个刚才那个 Philippe 设计的这个灯，它刚才我们大家看到就是说，我们先找到所有的波长，然后这些是对我们人的眼睛有反应的，然后先把它定义下来。可是他问了一个问题说，我们的家里是不是只有人呢？好像不是，也有老鼠啊，有狗啊。然后有植物啊，有小鸟啊，那他一个一个去研究这些东西的眼球会接受到的那个颜色的波长，所以他最后选出了32个这样子的波长，然后组合起来变成他现在的这一个灯。那所以说你如果在家里的时候，你可以选择，如果你自己在家的时候，你就只可以选择是人的波长。你就可以开那个人的波长。那如果是你跟狗在一起的时候，你可以开人跟狗的波长。那如果你出去遛狗的时候，你可以开植物的波长，所以植物可以继续行光合作用。
So it was exhibited 1 month ago in the Milano for the fair, furniture design fair, and for the just to explain this, we have created different range of light using the same rods, but so it was one ring was for the dog wavelength, one for the human, one for the plant, and so you could go inside and see the wall, see the color like a bird or like a mouse, and.
所以这是他在那个米兰，在今年在米兰家具设计展里面。展出来的作品，那所以在里面就是有各式各样不同的波长所形成的。好，所以刚才我们是第一个章节是最小尺度的，那这只是其中一个例子。那我们他当然用其他的事情，可以做非常多的事情。那我们下一个章节要进到建筑的尺度。
So this is a method to design. This is I always work like this, and also in the school also where I teach, I also teach like this with the student in order to get a real knowledge about what we are talking about, and like a scientific knowledge, and then we could design something new and something more efficient, more sustainable, more good, because it's linked to the knowledge of today. This is some project, more architectural projects that are based on different things. This project is based on convection. For example, because the warm air go up, so in the cold country, for example, you lose a lot of heat under the ceiling because nobody are there. So we propose some different strategy of in order to save the energy and to become more efficient in the heating point of view. So this one, for example, is about humidity, ventilation, because you blow air in the dry space before, and then the air move in the most humid, and then it go out. So how to understand the design of the space based on this. Then this one is based on the conductivity, the wall and the glass, you know, because if you have one layer or two layer of glass, you have more thermal insulation between inside and outside. This one is about how to design the albedo, you know, depending of the color of the material. And we talk about this in the car, but you know, if for example this is a facade, and because the warm air go up, so it's very warm at the top level and more cold there. So in Switzerland, it's a project in Switzerland. So we propose to change the material of the facade in order to accumulate more heat down and less up to compensate what's happened. So we change the type of material in order to, this is the natural way of creating heat. And so we propose to reverse this phenomena by changing the, for example, if it is a white material, it will reflect the light and the heat. If it is a black, it will transform the light into heat. So you could decide of the color, and depending of the material, it will absorb the infrared or reflect the infrared. So the choice of the facade could be very important, like from a sustainable point of view.
所以刚才他在建筑的这一个系列，他很快的讲了一些利用那个，不管是利用颜色，或者是利用湿度，或者是辐射等等，对流等等各式各样的方法来做那个 facade 的设计。那这个应该是他会，刚才是一个一般性的介绍，现在应该会举一个比较明确的例子，就像刚才的 LED 灯一样。
Here I would like just to present a project we have just finished 2 weeks ago for Paris. It's about existing building. It's because in Paris you have a lot of historical building, and the issue is how to transform, because this old building in stone are not efficient from a sustainable and ecological point of view, because the stone is not good like thermal insulation, so you lose a lot of heat during the winter, because there is some cold conductivity from the wall, and but you could not, normally you have to add thermal insulation outside to have efficient things, but you could not add it outside because it's a touristic value of the facade in stone, so you have to put it inside, and so it means it will change the interior of the old building. And so we start to think what it means, this. And in reality, we understand that it's linked to style, to decorative style, because all the history of the decorative style, in France there is a lot of different decorative style, like Marie Antoinette style, like Louis XV style, or like Renaissance style, or like modern style, or Art Deco style, or Art Nouveau style, Liberty style, all these different styles, and this is a Middle Age style. And in reality, what you see in the Middle Age style, everything was in stone, so it was really cold in France. In the old castle, it was cold, and so they start to invent some solution for inside in order to insulate, to add more performance for the comfort for the people. So it's why they start to invent, for example, the tapestry. And the tapestry became a very decorative object. You could visit, when you go in France, you will go in museum and see old tapestry like this. And it looks like a painting, but in reality, there is a comfort value. It was an architectural element of thermal insulation. So in the Middle Age, if you look carefully to these things, the same for the bed, for example, because the room was so cold, so they create small bed with curtain in order to keep the heat inside the bed. So it creates this problem of heat, of climate inside the building, create a style of the Middle Age.
所以像在他现在要秀的是那个他2个礼拜之前才在巴黎完成的一个设计案。那么这个设计案他其实他一开始先讲说因为巴黎的房子都是老房子，然后我们不能随便改，因为有很高的观光价值。可是这些老房子都是石头做的，那这些石头对于那个热传导会很容易会失去那个热能，所以外面的冷空气很容易传到里面来，在冬天的时候就会变得非常冷。所以特别是像他刚刚秀那个是他说有各式各样的style， 就是形式，这个不同时期的形式的房子大概都有那种问题，但是他特别举了一个中世纪的房子的 style 的例子。所以那个墙上挂的这个东西不是画，但事实上它是有那个隔热材的效果，这看起来像是装饰，其实它是建筑的元素，它不是只是一个装饰。那么甚至于到下一张 the next slide， 说不但有这些东西，而且那么冷的时候，这个床需要用那个帘子把它包起来，这样里面的温度才会，因为太冷了，所以里面的才能保温这样。
And the same for the wood. For example, if you look here, you see there is the stone here, and here there is a wood, and of course the wood, like the tapestry, is a thermal insulation. There is it's blocked the conductivity, the cold conductivity that goes through the stone. So this you see the height is also linked to the human size. So and there is of course the fireplace that become a very decorative object. So in reality, all the problem of the comfort of the climate become a decorative element of the indoor space. So yeah.
所以这些甚至于像这些木头的 panel， 其实就是因为它是在人会活动的高度，所以这些好像是装饰性的东西，其实它都有一个那个实际上的原因。
And of course it become object for the museum today. And this is in Italy, for example, the wood also, because the wood, you know, the conductivity of the wood is very small, so you don't have exchange. The stone, you know, the stone have a cold radiation. The cold goes through the stone, but the wood is a thermal insulation, so there is no effect. So it means that it's become also object of decoration, and the same for the ground, because if you have a stone ground, it will be very cold in France, because you have all the coldness coming from the ground in the foot. So they start to have some wood, for example, and so it becomes very decorative like this. And you could see also the carpet. In reality, a carpet is also something for blocking the coldness from the ground. And then here you see the carpet, the tapestry, the wood, things. All these things in reality are for comfort, are for the. It's not. We think that it's only decoration, but it's not decoration at the base. It's only for a solution against coldness. And then, of course, there is also the problem of there is not enough light. It's too, and so they start to invent, you know, to have, for example, mirror. It's a mirror. It's something to multiply the light inside the space, and also the suspended light and all these things. Everything is to increase the quantity of light. So it's also a kind of decoration that is based on the lack of light.
所以像不管是木头或者是地毯。甚至于是房子里面看起来像装饰的镜子或者是水晶灯，那么像这些东西其实它都有实际上改变这个室内环境的功能。那前面讲的比较像是隔热材，那像水晶灯啊这些其实都会反射，还有镜子都会让这个室内的光线的品质得到改善。
Yeah, this is you see the guy is sitting on the carpet, you know, because he blocked the cold conduction from the ground, and so after in the 19th century the fireplace disappeared. It was the furnace that start this object that start to take it become like the center point of the house here. And then today, you know, this is a typical Parisian apartment, like a bourgeois luxe apartment in Paris. And you see that there is some wood, some decoration, some fireplace, some mirror. So all these decoration objects are like archaeology of the history of the comfort. And today, in reality, you know, we don't need anymore the fireplace because everything comes from the radiator. We don't need really the mirror because everything comes from the artificial light. We don't need really curtain because we heat a lot. So all these objects are becoming only decoration and no more use. In this project, we start to think: is it possible to reinvent a decorative art but with a meaning?
所以，我们可以看到这个是现在巴黎的中产阶级的家里面会看起来的样子。那这些 decoration 其实都还在，像壁炉啊、镜子啊这些东西。可是这些东西现在变成，他说是看起来像是我们人类在追求舒适上面的建筑考古学。所以，但是这些东西现在已经失去了它原来的意义了。因为我们已经不再需要这些东西了，那有没有可能重新来思考这些东西，来变成我们建筑的元素呢？
And why it's decoration? Because we have invented at the end of the 19th century the system of heating with warm water, with radiator that is very efficient, and we have like nuclear power, oil. We could consume a lot during the 20th century, a lot of energy in order to warm a lot or to have air conditioning in Taiwan. But this is the same. So we have the reverse. We have a lot of air conditioning. So we don't need anymore all these old things because we just turn on more the air conditioning or we turn more the radiator. And so all this decoration, all these old objects, all the in-between objects are becoming decoration. So this is the project. This is the project in Paris. This is for an old 16th, 17th century castle in the center of Paris, and so we start to. The project is to rethink this building in a new way, and it's quite difficult. You could not really do something new because it's the touristic value is very strong. So and the patrimoine. So normally you could do nothing outside, and so the idea and I was thinking maybe it's not good to do like a modernity inside the old, a kind of contrast, but to find a new way of designing things, and we just start to analyze how to change, because this building is the wall, the U value, the coefficient of transmission, of heat transmission of the wall is too small, it's too high, so it means it's cold. The cold could go through very quickly, and so you lose a lot of heat during the winter to heat the space inside. And today in France you have new regulation, you have to have a coefficient of U value of wall of 0.15 watt by square meter by Kelvin. So it's in order to block to heat a very small quantity of heat in order to warm the space. And for doing that, we calculate the quantity of thermal insulation you have to add. It's like 20 centimeters. Of course, yes, 20 centimeters. So you must add 20 centimeters in order to reach the target of the new, it's called RT 2012. So this is a new, yes, of the target of the energy saving that all the buildings in France must reach today in order to be sustainable. So so it means that if you start to analyze, this is a little the history of the building. So before it was very cold, because the cold goes through in the floor, and so the floor was really cold. And then they put the carpet, or they put a tapestry, and then we put a little thermal insulation sometimes, but there is no thermal insulation today. And then if we want to be efficient, we have to add this thermal insulation inside, and you have to return also down 1 meter, because if not, you have a thermal bridge. The cold goes through the, here for example you have a thermal bridge, so it means the cold goes through the floor. So you have to come back like 80 centimeters inside with 20 centimeters, and in reality what's happened, it creates, I don't know the English name, it's a moulure, you know, for example, because if it come back, it will create like in the old Parisian, you see here, you have this type of things that are very decoration, you know, and so here by coming back with this 20 centimeters, we are creating new and useful new moulure. And so the decoration, we find a new reason, a real reason why we need to pay to do some decoration on the sailing. And so we do the same for the convection. So this is a little the story of convection. Before it was cold, and then there is a fireplace, a chimney, and the furnace, and then the radiator, and then today this is the diagram of the different way of heating. So if you use floor heating, this is this curve. So this is the most economical and the most efficient curve today to warm, because if you have a normal radiator, it becomes too warm on the ceiling. So we change that, and then we continue also with for the radiation from the wall, and then for the ventilation, for the light. And for we could also during the winter get some more heat coming from the sunlight. So we could start to analyze the impact of the sunlight on the floor, and to say, okay, this part will reflect the light, the white light, the visible light, but will transform the infrared, the invisible light, into heat that go inside the ground in order to get some inertia value with infrared natural light. So we start to do a new pattern according to this, and so it means you could reinvent the marquetry, the way to design the floor, you know, like very precisely, but according to new value, to some ecological value.
So you finished the floor part, or?
Just say a last thing. So here, for example, this is like the new. We call this the new style. See, we call this the Anthropocene style. So it's a kind of the style of today, and so we here we also use this type of things. It's a copper. Steel plate in order to take the heat that is accumulated under the ceiling and to bring back by conduction down, and to have like a radiator down, and here we have panels that block the radiation. So we rethink about all the different things according to new ecological and sustainable value.
所以刚才 Philippe 讲的事情是说，在他刚刚介绍了那个所谓的那个舒适的考古学之后，那么开始再重新思考他现在这个设计案。那他举了几个例子，比如说我们要把房子达到今天法规规定的节省能源的程度的时候，我们要把那个墙壁增厚20公分的隔热材。那这20公分的隔热材还需要转弯，就是在从墙转到地板跟转到天花板都要转进来80公分，所以80公分再加20公分的那个原本增加的厚度就是1公尺，所以跟原来的墙比起来，我们延伸进来1公尺上面1公尺下面。那这个其实在传统上面的装饰是有这个东西的，那个我也不会翻译，那个叫什么？线脚，好。就是那个上面跟下面那个东西本来叫线脚，有这样子的事情。可是现在其实它有实际上的功能，它会阻挡那个热进来，这是其中的一个例子。那另外一个例子是说，当那个外面的日光进到房间里面的时候，我们可以利用这个地板的这个设计， 让那个红外线不要反射到这里面来，所以那种我们不希望的热就在那边被解决掉了。所以，然后他又举了很多其他的例子，所以整个组合起来，他说这是一个现代的 style。
Finally, we have two new space. One space is this one. It's a little like the one project we saw yesterday. This is a new room underground with geothermal well that go underground. We have like we must have like 2.5 kilometers of structure that go underground. So it's divided in 10 well of 250 meter down that go underground, and it produces 50 kilowatt of heating system. So it's warm with these new things here. It will produce all the heating system green energy for all the buildings. So it's no more oil, it's no more nuclear power. It's a green energy that will produce and will bring inside the ground and the floor heating. It's all the floor heating come from that. And then so it's a new place. We call this the calorium. So it's to produce heat. It's like the place, the room to produce heat. And we have another. So this is a little the design of this room. And then we have another one in the garden that will produce the new air, and with the heat exchange ventilation. So we take in the garden the air, and it's like a greenhouse. So we warm the air in the winter, like inside a greenhouse, and then we have a heat exchanger here, and we have the new air that go there and come back, and there is a heat exchange here in order to recuperate the heat that go before it go out.
所以现在在这个房子的 renovation 里面，他们还是创造了2个新的东西，一个是这个地热的系统，然后一个是那个空气的系统。那地热那个系统就很像昨天郭孟福他 present 的 project， 只是这个地热系统是往下250公尺深。
Okay, and so the last part of the book was about thermodynamic city, and in this part we present different urban projects, and of course, and I will finish with this. This is a project in Copenhagen, and of course the Jade Eco Park in Taichung.
最后他要介绍城市尺度，那这是他现在正在做的台中生态公园，就水南机场改的那个案子。
I don't have a lot of time to present here.
But all the things are new.
Yes.
From last lecture.
Yes.
那个 Philippe 2年前来过淡江演讲，那个时候 present 的事情跟今天是完全不一样，今天都是全新的东西。
So I will try to go quickly through the project and to show the last development under construction. So this is it was a competition we have won in 2011 for 70 hectares. This is a central park of a new district of Taichung on the old airport, and the park will be the green lung. It was the idea, it's like the ecological green lung of the new district, and so when we start to design it, I talk with some Taiwanese people, and I start to read again the history of the garden inside the city. And the first reaction, because I talked with a young girl about, a Taiwanese girl about what she thinks about park in Taiwan, and she told me, maybe you are not agree with that, but she said, me personally, I don't like park. I prefer to go in shopping mall. There is too many mosquitoes. It's too warm, too humid. So it was like this. And then, by reading the history of the park, if you like in New York Central Park, or in Paris in the 19th century with Haussmann, with the Bois de Boulogne, Parc Monceau, you understand that in the big city, the idea of the park was to cool the city, or was to, for example, in Paris, the idea was to have trees, was to have like climatic devices in order to create shadow. When you are inside the street, you could be protected from the sun under the trees. So for me it was a little new, because for me the trees was like a decoration, but in reality it's a real machine to create shadow and to cool the people under the trees. And the same for the big park. It was the idea to give the possibility to the inhabitants of Paris to go outside during the summer when it's too warm. You could go in the park and it will be more cool, more fresh there, because there is a lot of trees and humidity that create in the European climate. It creates some cooling effect. And in New York, for Central Park, the idea was of the park was to clean the air. You could read in the memory of Olmsted, the landscape designer of Central Park, that he want to clean the air, and the health of the New Yorker is better after Central Park. So there is this idea to cool, to clean the air, to cool the air, and also because we are in Taiwan, we start to think in Taiwan it's often warm and humid, and of course in Taichung it's also polluted, and so we start to think maybe the park could be a place where we could reduce the pollution, we could reduce the heat, and we could reduce the humidity of the air.
从那个简单的说，从那个公园的历史来看，那个公园其实是拿来让这个城市有降温，大型的公园是让城市有降温的效果。那中央公园的话会主要是纽约的中央公园主要是把那个城市的空气清洁的效果。那所以他曾经问那个一个年轻的台湾女生说，你喜不喜欢公园啊？然后他说我很讨厌公园，我宁可去购物中心，因为里面有很多的公园里面有很多的蚊子啊，又热又潮湿。所以呢，这个台中的这个生态公园呢，它其实就在处理这个热、潮湿，还有那个热、潮湿等，还有空气净化等等这些的功能。
So here, so we start to design the master plan based on three independent layers. One about heat, one about humidity of the air, and one about pollution of the air. And we start to analyze where it could be a little colder in the in the future park based on the new building. And the only factor that could influence the temperature will be the wind, because there is a north wind that comes from a wind that comes from the north, and when the wind is under 32 degrees Celsius, it has a cooling effect. When you if you move your hand on the face, you feel the cooling effect. So we do this map of wind. And in the red and the yellow and orange area, it will be a little more colder or more comfortable. And so, and in the blue one here, it will be warm, very warm. And so we say, okay, we will reinforce where it's a little colder. We will reinforce that by adding a lot of trees, cooling trees and cooling devices to exaggerate, to create a more colder area. And where it's warm, we will let it warm because it could be useful also in the end of the afternoon or during the winter. You prefer to go in warm area than cold area. And for doing that, we place a lot of trees, of cooling trees. We choose some specific trees that have big leaf or a lot of quantity, a lot of trees of leaves in order to cool. And we have like more than 10,000 trees in the park. And we have like, and after we create also some park equipment, like a furniture of the park. We call these climatic devices. And this is a little like you could find in every park in the world. It's like fountain, like a kiosk or pavilion, or it's a small structure, some architectural structure that will give some other experience of cooling effect. And then, so this is a map of the trees. So it's very dense. It's also like an impressionist way of composing by gradation. And here this is the cooling devices, and then all the activity follow the climate. So it means the leisure activities, the black dots, find position inside the park like this. And so we did the same for the humidity and for the pollution. So there is some big road here and here and here. So far from the road, far from the noise and from the pollution of the car, we place all the children activity and a lot of trees that catch the pollution of the air, and also what we call the depolluting devices. So this is all the tree, and this is the devices, and this is a children playground and activity there, far from the road, in the most protected and most less noisy area. And then all these layers overlap, so it generates different type of microclimate that could be. If you prefer to go there, you could go there. If you prefer to go in the most dense forest, you could choose where you want to go. And then we create some paths also that connect the different, the cooling place and the drying place and the depolluting place together with different type of paths. The black path is for children, it's very flat, very easy to use, also for wheelchair, and the red one is for a normal promenade, and the blue one is for sport players, so it's a very hard path to use, so it's create a diversity also of moving through the park according to what you want. And this is some photo of the construction like 8 months ago. This is a road, one road that goes through the park, and we create some bridge and tunnel in order to have a continuity of the park everywhere from the north to the south. And we work with a landscape designer, Catherine Mosbar, about that. And all the hill is for rain drainage and rain, because all the rain of the water of the rain of the district arrives on the park, and so the topography contains the rain when there is heavy rain, for example.
所以刚才那个 Philippe 他现在在秀那个这几个月前在那个工地施工的状况，那我也有去那边稍微看过一下，然后其实是非常有趣的一个策略。那么他前面提出来就是说，他把这些温度啊，他刚才讲的所有的事情都做了 mapping。那么本来公园比较容易有风的地方呢，他就种更多的树，去让那个地方更凉。那本来那个地方可能是比较温暖的地方，它就保持那个温暖的地方，因为在不同的季节，我们会需要不同的气候跟环境的条件的状况，其实是一样，就是追寻一个舒适度。那么这件事情在以前的公园可能也有，但是在现在的公园里面，我们可以做选择的很重要一个原因是，他等一下可能会讲，就是其实我们现在是有一个随时都有那个 WiFi 啊，或者是手机的系统，所以用 APP 你可以 locate 你要的那个环境。
Yeah, on this image we don't see the trees because they will come after, and of course here we have like save all the trees that were on site, like we have 4,000 trees that were saved and they are waiting here in a very good condition in order to move somewhere in the new location after. Then I will present the cooling strategy, and after the intelligent system, and then I will finish in 10 minutes. I hope it's okay. So this is the first layer, the heat layer. So so we see the master plan. Oh, we did it. We did the master plan, and then we see that there is some area that become very dense because we have trees every 3 meters. So it's become very like a forest. It will be very cold with a lot of shadow, and this area where it's really dense, we also change the ground in order to cool also with the ground. The choice of the ground material will change in this 4 area. The type of trees is really also the trees that cool also. And we give some name of this area. We call this Northern Kulia, Western Kulia, Middle Kulia, Southern Kulia. So Kulia is like a cool, cold, and yeah, like America or Australia. So it's a kind of the country of the cold. And then we have some specific trees there. And the choice of the trees is based also of the cooling effect of the trees. We choose some variety, some species of trees that have a strong cooling effect. And then sometime, because we have a lot of trees, but sometime we change one of these dots. This is a tree here, so you could see in the middle it will be very dense, like a real dense forest. And then sometime, every 10 trees, we change to an artificial man-made structure. And this is one of these one. This is the cooling devices. So in reality, it's like park furniture. It's like park equipment. It's like a little like fontaine, pavilion, kiosk, this type of things you could find in every park in the world. And but this one have some more. Some of them have some specific action. So this one, for example, blow cold air. This one are like fontaine, but creating mist or cloud and cooling by evaporation. This one are like cold radiation with a kind of network of cold water running inside. This one are shadow, different type of shadow, and so why we want to cool the area? Because we know that we calculate, we look to in Taichung, we know that the body, the temperature of the body when it's become higher, the temperature of the air when it's become higher than 29.4 degrees Celsius until 32 degrees Celsius, it's become too warm. So you start to feel uncomfortable. So we check how many days in Taichung is over 29.4 degrees. So we see that there is like more than 200 days. So to cool, the idea to cool will be efficient or interesting during 200 days. And also, and how to cool, and why it's too warm. There is 3 reasons why it's too warm. Because the air temperature is too high, or the solar radiation is too strong, or the airspeed is not enough. It's not when you have wind, so it's more comfortable, but when you have no wind and a lot of sun and the air temperature is high, so it becomes uncomfortable. This is what I show here. And so how to reduce this? We could reduce by lower the air temperature, by lower the intensity of solar radiation, or by increasing airspeed. This is how this is like how we could cool the space, cool the body. And of course it will be this device, some active device, because we have some passive device and some active. The active device will be on only when the temperature is higher than 29 and when the airspeed is lower then the wind speed is lower than 2.5 meters by second. And so how to lower the air temperatures? So here this is all the day that are higher than 29 degrees Celsius. It was 1 year ago, so so it starts in March, and here this is a map of these devices inside the trees, and this is a little the effect of some devices. And I will show one devices. This is the anticyclone. So how to cool the air. So we use only green energy. So we use geothermal cooling. So because we saw one project yesterday. So this is something that we know today. You know, we do some. I think we have this no. Not here, but we do some measurement on site to see what is the temperature in the ground, and so we see that under 5 degrees Celsius it was in the 12th July at the temperature of the air it was 40 degrees Celsius at noon, and under it was 25 degrees Celsius at 5 meters down. So the idea is to go with duct and to cool down. And then you could cool the air by moving the air in the underground. And for moving the air, we use green energy only, photovoltaic panels that are here on the north part of the park that will produce electricity for the lighting during the night, for the building and for the devices. So there is no use of electricity that comes from outside of the park. Everything is self-sustainable. And the fan for moving the air it's very low consumption of electricity. And so this is okay to increase the airspeed. And this is the first how to calculate how we did. So now I focus on this one, but this is a small park because we have only 6 devices like this in the park. So it means we have 10,000 trees, but so it's not. Okay, so it's a detail, but we did the same work for each device, for each part of the project, but I just want to show this one.
那现在讲其中的一个，这个装置在整个公园里就只有6个而已，但是还有其他的装置，但是它今天只介绍一个。
And so to calculate the quantity of to calculate the quantity of air. So we do this with the engineer, first in Germany and then after in Taiwan, to calculate the quantity of air and the speed of air. And so we do some CFD model to know that. And so we find that we need a certain amount of air to have a certain effect that could be that you could feel under. And the technique is like this. We have 2 ways of cooling. We have a first way of cooling with city water, heat exchange, and then it goes down 5 meters down, and then we have some duct that go underground. This is a technique that is used very often in France or in Switzerland. In Switzerland, more in France now, and in Taiwan now. So this is a duct, the underground duct. So we could see. This is there, and it goes down, and then it connects to this device. And this is a climatic plant room, so where we have the fan. So it was like in order to have the maintenance and the guarantee of everything that are in a good condition. And then it goes. So the air goes down. We go down 5 meters down, we have the pipe and the duct. and this is the anticyclone, the device itself. So the air arrives. So each leg is like a pipe, and it arrives, and there is thermal insulation, and then it's blown. So the speed of air is 6.5 meters by second inside the duct in order to have no turbulences, no noise. And then there is it's increased to 8.5 meters by second. This is our calculation, and this is what we get at the end. So we were successful in all the calculation we made. We are successful in these things. So so this is some the 3D printing of some of the device. And it was the first device under construction, and then this is like the structure, the pipe that come out of the ground. Here we see the pipe that arrived. And then there is a leg of the device. And this is the first one. So it's like a pavilion blowing air. Cold air. And just to finish, just very quickly, this is another one that blow. That is like a cloud. It's like a fountain, like a mist, something that everybody knows. And so inside the park, it become like an event. It's become like a landmark, and so if you want to go there, you could, or if you want to go under trees, you could do it. And but it's like this is like this is different type of shadow also. But now I will finish. I want to finish. See. I want to finish just by showing the intelligence system of the. So inside the park, there is sensor every 50 meters that measure the temperature, the humidity, and the pollution. And then, according to this, we create some maps, some index. So you could see in real time on your smartphone, you could see where it's cold, what is the temperature in real time inside the park, and so you could decide to move there according to the temperature, and the same for the humidity, and same for the pollution. And so everything go to the computer, and then we, according to the quantity of electricity we produce in real time, we will use it. We will sell it first at high power for buying back during the night for the lighting, and then for the building. And then if there is a lot of sun, so it means there is more electricity, and we use the rest of electricity for activating the fan of the device. So so this is just something with a smartphone, so you could have all the information in real time. So every 5 seconds you have renew the map, and you see in real time where it's cold and the temperature everywhere. And I just want to show this small movie. Okay, so well, okay, it's finished. Okay, thank you.
我想，我们休息5分钟，再换场的时候，那大家应该也要起来活动。